The afternoon sun slanted through the blinds, casting striped shadows across the living room where I sat, sifting through the day's mail. Bills, a magazine mundane and expected. Then my fingers hesitated over something else, a package. Sleek, mysterious, and addressed to Valerie. Her name was scrawled in elegant, unfamiliar handwriting, and a ripple of unease coursed through me. Curiosity tugged at me, but something sharper, something colder, steadied my hands. With careful precision, I peeled away the tape, the sound shattering the silence like a gunshot. Inside, nestled in delicate tissue paper, lay a dress, stunning, clearly expensive. The kind Valerie wore on nights that mattered, the kind that made her eyes shimmer and her laughter spill effortlessly. Resting beside it was a note, hastily written yet undeniably intimate. For you, my love. Waiting for you tonight at the last night restaurant. No signature. Only a single initial, J. A scarlet flag unfurled before my eyes, its fabric woven with suspicion and undeniable truth. My pulse pounded as my mind clawed at the possibilities, but the answer slashed through the chaos like a blade. Jeremy. Her boss. The signs had been there all along, murmured phone calls, late nights at work, the hesitation in her voice when I asked too many questions. And now this. The note crumpled beneath my tightening fist as anger coiled deep in my chest, hardening into something more dangerous. I needed proof, something undeniable. Grabbing my keys, I walked out the door with only one destination in mind. Valerie's office loomed ahead as I strode through the lobby, my presence barely acknowledged by the receptionist. She offered a polite smile that wavered when she glanced at the clock. She left about an hour ago, she informed me, unaware of the storm raging inside me. I muttered a thank you, barely managing civility, and turned sharply toward the exit. The drive to the last night was a blur, a reckless rush of red lights and honking cars that barely registered against the roar of my thoughts. But the moment I arrived, reality sharpened with cruel clarity. There she was, Valerie, walking into the restaurant with Jeremy, their laughter curling through the cool evening air as if nothing in the world could touch them. I tightened my grip on the steering wheel, forcing myself to exhale slowly. Confrontation now would be reckless, impulsive. No, I needed something sharper, something that would cut where it hurt the most. This would not be a scene. It would be a reckoning. Sliding back into the shadows, I pulled out my phone and dialed. Mark, it's Alex. A pause. Then his voice calm, efficient. What's up? I need a favor. Can you follow someone tonight? He didn't hesitate. Send me the details. Within moments, he had everything. Their descriptions, their location. Now, all that was left was to wait. From my vantage point, I watched the restaurant, my fingers drumming against the steering wheel. Time crawled, but the sight of them emerging later that night sent a fresh wave of fire through my veins. Jeremy's hand lingered on hers just a moment too long. An unspoken confession whispered in the space between them. Then Mark's text arrived. Got it. Clear shots. You'll want to see these. I exhaled slowly, my lips curling into a cold, determined smile. Time to move. The next call was to Dan, an executive at Jeremy's company. Hey, Dan. It's Alex. We need to meet. His tone sharpened with interest. What's this about? Jeremy. And trust me, you'll want to see what I have. The meeting was set for the next morning. That night, I spread out the photos Mark had sent, crisp, undeniable proof of their closeness, their betrayal. The pieces of my plan clicked into place, smooth and seamless. When I walked into Dan's office the next day, a towering high-rise framing the city behind him, he wasted no time. Show me, he said. I slid the photographs across the desk, watching his face darken as he absorbed the images. This is bad, he muttered. Really bad. I nodded. You know what this could mean for the company. His jaw tightened. I'll handle it. Jeremy won't see this coming. As I left his office, a strange mix of satisfaction and hollowness settled in my chest. I had set something in motion that could not be undone, and the fallout was just beginning. The next morning, gray clouds loomed overhead, mirroring the weight pressing against my ribs. As I poured my coffee, my phone rang. Dan. Alex. Jeremy's been suspended. The board's taking this seriously. Legal action is on the table. A slow inhale. And Valerie? She's being questioned today. If anything comes out, it won't be good for her either. I hung up without another word. Later, I parked across the street from their office, watching as hushed conversations unfolded, sideways glances exchanged like currency. The tension inside was palpable, even from here. Then Valerie arrived, her steps hesitant, her face pale. She disappeared behind the glass doors, swallowed by the consequences of her choices. A message from Mark vibrated against my palm. Inside now. Security's tight. Something big is happening. The updates painted a picture of chaos. Valerie's name murmured in wary conversations, colleagues keeping their distance. Hours passed before she emerged again, her composure fractured. Her shoulders slumped under the weight of what had transpired. I stepped out of my car. Valerie! She spun, her eyes widening as she saw me. Alex! Her voice was hoarse, laced with disbelief. What are you doing here? I met her gaze, steady and unyielding. We need to talk. I guided her firmly toward a nearby cafe, a neutral ground in the midst of the chaos that had erupted around us. As we sat, Valerie's mask began to crumble, and I could see the strain in her features. Her eyes, swollen from tears, betrayed the fragile calm she had tried to maintain. Alex, I don't understand what's going on. They're accusing me of being involved with Jeremy beyond work, her voice faltered, and she turned away, unable to meet my gaze. I swallowed the bitter surge of pity that threatened to rise, forcing my words out through clenched teeth. Why, Valerie? Why lie to me? Her voice trembled as she turned back, tears welling up once more. It was a mistake, she whispered, her face contorting with regret. I swear, I was going to end it. I was going to stop it all. I leaned in, keeping my expression neutral even as my heart thundered in my chest. But someone sent those pictures to Dan. I waited, letting the weight of my words hang in the air. Her eyes dropped to the table, the sorrow in them almost suffocating. Alex, maybe it's time you decide what you really want, I said, my voice steady despite the storm inside me. This isn't just about an affair. This is about trust. About everything we've built. She nodded shakily, wiping the tears from her eyes, but the fear and regret etched on her face made it clear that she understood what I was saying. She was broken, but the damage had already been done. I need to fix this, Alex, she whispered, her voice raw with desperation. If it's not too late. I stood, the clarity of my decision settling into my bones like steel. I think it's too late, Valerie. I'll have the divorce papers sent over. Leaving her there, broken and alone, felt like a betrayal of my own humanity. But it was her choices, her lies, that had brought us to this point. I walked out into the cold, the air biting against my skin, a sharp reminder of the isolation I was about to face. My phone buzzed insistently, but I ignored it, focusing on the road ahead. The fallout wasn't over. The storm I had unleashed was only beginning to carve through our lives, leaving nothing untouched. The city seemed to hold its breath, oblivious to the destruction beneath its surface. I drove on, the streets swallowed in darkness, the sky hanging low and oppressive. The final chapter of this twisted saga was about to unfold. My car came to a halt outside an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of town, a forgotten relic of a time gone by, its cracked walls telling stories of industries long lost. This was the place where I would confront Jeremy, where everything would finally end. Inside, the silence was deafening. My footsteps echoed against the concrete floor, sharp and lonely in the vast emptiness. From the shadows, Jeremy's silhouette materialized, cautious and tense as he stepped into the weak light filtering through the broken windows. Alex, what is this? His voice trembled between defiance and fear, but I could see the crack in his bravado. Justice, I replied, my grip tightening around the steel pipe I carried. The dim moonlight caught its edge, casting a cold gleam across the room. Jeremy's eyes darted to the pipe, then back to my face, trying to read me. You think you can scare me? What do you want? I want you to feel what I felt, I said, my tone eerily calm, as I took a step closer. I want you to understand the pain you've caused. He backed away, his feet stumbling against a rusted metal column. It's over, Alex. Valerie's leaving you. She loves me, he said, desperation seeping into his voice, but there was a tremor there, a crack in his certainty. You're wrong, Jeremy, I said, closing the distance between us. It was all a lie. My words sliced through the air, colder than the steel in my hand. What are you talking about? His voice wavered, disbelief clouding his features. I tossed a stack of photos at his feet. The pictures spread out like a deck of cards, each one a silent witness to his own downfall. Not just of him and Valerie, but of other women as well, each carefully documented. She never loved you, I continued, my voice gaining strength. She used you just like she used me. We were both pawns in her game. Jeremy's face drained of color as he scanned the photos, his eyes wide in disbelief. No, that's not possible. Deny it all you want, I said, stepping closer, my voice cold and final. But I know the truth now. And so will you. With one swift motion, I swung the pipe, striking his knee with brutal precision. He crumpled to the floor with a howl of pain, his face twisted in shock and betrayal. You thought you were the only one who could play this game? I hissed, leaning down as he writhed on the ground. Valerie manipulated both of us. But I'm the one who's walking away. I turned my back on him, leaving him there, a broken figure amidst the echoes of our ruined lives. The cold night air bit at my skin as I walked away. It felt cleansing somehow, as if it could wipe away the remnants of everything that had happened. As I drove off into the night, the weight of the past few days began to lift. Valerie's betrayal, Jeremy's deception, they were behind me now. I was alone, truly alone. But for the first time in days, I felt free. The city lights blurred as I drove, each one a marker of the future ahead. A future unburdened by lies, where trust was no longer a gamble I was willing to take. The game of deceit was over. The players had scattered. But deep down, I knew the cost had been far higher than I ever wanted to pay.